The Caitlin Clark off-ball experiment needs to end. And if you guys agree, leave a like. If we could get 500 likes, that'd be insane. And also, if you guys could subscribe. We are trying to hit 47.36k by the end of the day. Even 2 more would be incredible. But we've got to talk about it. The off-ball experiment needs to end. Needs to end. Like, absolutely needs to end. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The off-ball experiment needs to end. Because the Indiana Fever are not going to win many games with Caitlin Clark at the 2. There's no Alyssa Thomas. Everyone's saying, oh, you run Steph Curry off the ball. No one ever said run Steve Nash off the ball. And people are like, oh, but like teams it's hard when teams try to take Caitlin Clark off the ball. Like, what? It's just dumb. Like, people are saying, essentially, people are like, oh, we're going to try change Caitlin because, we don't want to try to do anything to get Caitlin into good positions. So we're going to let Caitlin not be in good positions. Like, it doesn't make sense. Caitlin playing off the ball makes sense if you run a motion offense. This team plays a stagnant offense. They run the same offenses with Caitlin on and off the ball, which is they don't even run the pick and roll. They run ISO ball when Caitlin's off the ball, and Caitlin stands on the weak side. It needs to end. You do not have the personnel to run Caitlin Clark off the ball effectively. It's as simple as that. The team does not have the personnel. Yes, there are times giving a post up to Natasha Howard and letting her go to work works. There are times where getting the ball into Aaliyah and letting her go to work from the post works. There are times where that's going to work. But I stand by this. Those times are like few and far between. Because if we're being completely honest here, like, the best offense this team has is the pick and roll. It's like, imagine telling Mike D'Antoni to take the ball out of Harden's hands. And like, teams literally, if you guys saw last year in, like, when it came to the Fever, it did not matter what teams tried to do. The Fever were running, and the only people that could stop the Fever running was Christy Sides. Christy Sides was the only person that could stop the Fever from running, that could stop the Fever in pace. The only person that could stop the Fever running was their own coach, because nobody can. And now teams, and they're like, oh, teams have figured out Caitlin. It's so funny. People are like, oh, teams have figured out the scouting report. Caitlin Clark likes to shoot left. They knew that when she was a freshman at Iowa. She likes to shoot going left. She's in fact way better at shooting going right this year. Like, everybody knows the scouting report. Do you want to know the difference between the good and the bad players? The good players, even when they know the scouting report, it does not matter. The ball's still going in the basket. And that is Caitlin Clark for you. Caitlin Clark can run the show even if you know the scouting report. And we saw it. We literally saw it in quarter 1. When Caitlin had the ball in her hands, I understand she turned it over 5 times, but it's not like her team, or she didn't have 6 assists, and her team didn't score 29 points. But reminds me of Christy Sides being like, oh, Caitlin's turning the ball over too much. We need to get those turnovers down. What are we going to do? Caitlin, you're not touching the ball anymore. There we go. No wonder your turnovers are down. You've stopped touching the ball. Like, that's the most obvious thing in the world. That, like, if you don't want someone to turn the ball over, you just don't give them the ball. And obviously that must be it. It must be they're trying to limit turnovers or something. I don't even know. Like, there's no logic to it. I'm using Christy Sides' logic. And the weird thing is, I actually don't think that Stephanie White's a bad coach. Sorry, I don't think she's a bad coach, and I don't think she has a fundamental misunderstanding of basketball. You could hear from interviews last year that Christy Sides did not want Caitlin Clark on her team. Not that she didn't want Caitlin Clark, she wanted Caitlin Clark to fit into a system. And we've got a coach now, not even fit into a system, she wanted to build around Leah Boston. She probably didn't want Caitlin Clark on her team. She probably was happy out with Erica Wheeler running the one. And you could see that, like, in crunch time in a lot of games. Even down the stretch, even in the playoffs, she didn't trust Caitlin Clark. Even when Caitlin Clark scores or assists on 18 points in the first 6 minutes of game against Connecticut, she did not trust her to take the ball. Immediately took the ball out of her hands And all of a sudden, you go from being up like 8 points to being down a couple with with the team not scoring. And that's the thing. They took the ball out of Caitlin Clark's hands. The Indiana Fever went on a 4-0 run to start the fourth quarter. And in the end, they went 4-0 run, so it was 22-8 from then on. 22-8. And down the stretch, Caitlin Clark had two unbelievable passes. Unbelievable passes inside, one to Aaliyah Boston, one to Dwana Bonner. Refs didn't call a foul in either time. So, that's not her fault. And by the way, in those two possessions, she almost generated half the points in the freaking quarter. And then she got a really nice finish. Yeah, a couple of missed shots. It is what it is. You don't take the ball out of her hands. And not only that, there is a big flaw in Caitlin Clark's game that is something that needs to be checked. First of all, it's a flaw that needs to be fixed, but not every player is perfect. There is no player in world basketball that is a flawless player. There is no player there's no player that is flawless in all of world basketball. And it was very obvious. If you guys watched last year, I watched every Fever game last year. Has always been incredibly obvious. And you've seen when it comes to Lisa Bluter, when she's been talking about, when she's talked about Caitlin Clark. You've seen it when every coach that has had success with Caitlin Clark has talked about Caitlin Clark. There is a bit of there is stuff with Caitlin where it's she can switch in and out of games. She's a hothead. And that is a fact. That is can be seen as a negative thing, but without that, she's not as great as she is right now without that. And it would be, in fairness, you could say similar things about a Kobe. You could say similar things about an MJ. Except when teams denied Kobe the ball, Phil Jackson, in fairness, he ran the triangle offense and they were more mid-range players. But teams, even when Kobe didn't play for Phil Jackson, he was still great. When teams tried to deny Kobe the ball and stop Kobe scoring, no coach said, Kobe, go stand on in the weak side and don't touch the ball for 7 consecutive possessions. No coach told MJ to not touch the ball. And a lot of people are but you can't win with heliocentric. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Heliocentric nearly beat the 2017-18 Warriors. You can win with heliocentric, especially if you are running the break. This is a team that is unguardable on the break. And when you take the ball out of Caitlin Clark's hands, the team plays slower. Because Kelsey Mitchell takes the ball up and she runs. Yeah, she can go coast to coast twice a game. But she goes coast to coast twice a game on 7 coast to coast attempts instead of 2 open layups on her playing like a wide receiver. It's like the off-ball experiment only works with the right players, the right system, the right teams. This is not the right team to run it. This is a team the Golden State Warriors have never had a starter that is the offense stops here type player. They have never had a starter. There's a reason why Jaja Pachulia started, because he could pass. The Fever have never had a point guard who not yet have a point guard. The Warriors never had a player in their starting lineup that was when they touch the ball, you just assume the shot's going up. The Indiana Fever have 3 players on their team that are not the offense stops here type players. Damaris, Dantas shoots every time she touches it. Bree Turner is not good enough to be on a WNBA team. Sydney Colson is not good enough to be on a WNBA team. I'm not even considering them players. Colson's good enough to be on a roster for vibes and she can do something in limited minutes. But that's a fact. Dwana Bonner is not a good passer. Again, she's becoming a willing passer, not a good passer. Natasha Howard, I don't know. She might as well have blinkers on. Lexi Hull, as good as Lexi Hull is, she might as well have blinkers on. When she gets the ball, she is shooting 90% of the time. And Kelsey Mitchell might be the biggest ball hog in the league, not named Enrique Gamboale. Naturally. So you cannot have a team who at any time is going to have a minimum of 2 the offense stops here type players. A minimum of 2. Not 2, a minimum of 2. And with that being said, they have a minimum of 2 players that are like that. It can be really tricky. It can be super, super tricky to win with a team like that. It can be super tricky to win with a system like that. And all around, it's just something that the Indiana Fever needs to work on. It's something that the Indiana Fever needs to figure out. And as a coach, it's your job to build around your players. it's not your job to fit your players into a system. Like, you're not playing for the Connecticut Sun. You don't have Alyssa Thomas. Caitlin Clark is not Alyssa Thomas. Caitlin Clark is significantly better in offense than Alyssa Thomas. You don't need to slow it down. You don't need to slow down Caitlin Clark. You don't need to play a slow down system like you did with Alyssa Thomas. Like, you do not need to do that. Like, it's something that teams, I'm telling you, do not need to do. And the fact is that we've gone from one coach who wanted paint touches to another coach whose entire goal is to basically turn Caitlin Clark into, apparently it's, turn her into Steph Curry, but they're actually, in fact, running Caitlin Clark. They're not even running Caitlin Clark like she's JJ Redick. They're playing Caitlin Clark like she's Buddy freaking Hield. They're not even letting her be Steph Curry. She's Buddy Hield. She's the fourth option. When Caitlin Clark does not take the ball up, I'm not joking when I say this, she becomes the fourth option. Unless Sophie Cunningham takes it up. And fourth option Caitlin Clark hoops is not winning anything. It is not winning anything for the Indiana Fever. They are not going to win more than, say, 20 games, 22 games. They'll be 500. They will be 500 if they are playing Caitlin Clark off the ball. The experiment needs to end. And I understand your team doesn't need to go 44-0. But, like, when is it fine to turn it on? When is it fine? Like, we saw last year. The Las Vegas Aces. The Aces last year were a prime example of that. Everyone said about the Aces, they're going to turn it on eventually. They're going to start winning. Oh, this is the Aces. They're back-to-back champions. Wait till the playoffs. How many teams in basketball history have we seen treat the regular season like it's meaningless and just focus on the playoffs? Like, I understand peaking at the right time. I understand that. But continuing with a tactic that has brought you nothing but, like, has brought you no success. And by the way, you can't even take Caitlin Clark off the floor anymore. Like, I thought Caitlin Clark was going to play around 31, 32 minutes a game. I'm like, that's what she needs to play. Can't even take her off anymore. Because when you take her off, your team has a minus 125 net rating. I kid you not. Not a 125 offensive rating. Minus 125 net. Like, by the way, every single possession this season that Caitlin Clark has been taken off for defensive reasons, the other team scored. The Indiana Fever have had exactly 0 stops in possessions where they have taken Caitlin Clark off the floor for defense on the year. Caitlin Clark has made almost as many clutch defensive plays as anyone this year for them. She's drawing charges in the clutch. Caitlin Clark she made a great defensive play on Ryan Howard from 3, forcing her into a tough step back. Caitlin Clark is one of the better perimeter on-ball defenders on this team because she doesn't really bite on fakes and they can't run through her. She can be attacked off the ball. So yes, understandable. She's also the best weak side defender on the team. And it's just a crazy one. It's a crazy one looking at it. And look, it needs to stop. It absolutely, absolutely needs to stop. And it's something that Fever fans of rival teams, everybody can see that the off-ball experiment is going to cost Fever games. And again, I understand trying stuff out in games. I understand. But when it's coming at the expense of winning games, and you've done it 3 games in a row, like, you can't just trust that you can start losing games and turn it on in the playoffs. Because we've seen it too many times in basketball that teams are like, we don't care about the regular season. Those teams have never done anything. Like, a team that does not care about the regular season has never done anything in basketball. Like, straight up. It's one of those things where teams that care only about the regular season, they always struggle in the playoffs. Always.